And we're back.
Woohoo!
Session 3. Welcome back. Appreciate you guys listening in on the podcast or the YouTube vlog podcast or vlogcast.
Or whatever
Ooh.
it's called.
Let's coin it. We'll call it a vlogcast.
We're vloggers. We're vloggers.
Is it still a
Bill.
podcast if it's
No, I wouldn't think
if
so.
there's video? Vlogcast. I said it first. Okay, so we are going through session by session Love and Logic, the Parenting the Love and Logic Way book. If you want to watch the videos, you're on your own. We're not going to show those. We're just going to talk about these sessions one by one. I'm here with Bonetta Baki, my parent partner.
Woohoo! My
Koinonia,
partner with parents.
Koinonia foster parenting experience for almost 30 years. Dave's behind the camera as usual.
Yo.
Sometimes he chimes in. Sometimes he does not. Sometimes
He's our off-camera heckler.
our heckler.
Heckler.
Yeah, he keeps us straight, and you know, if things fall apart, he jumps in. So, all right, today, the session 3, if you're following along in a book, if you happen to have it or order it, I'm sure you can get a bootleg copy online. Session 3, setting limits without waging war. We did do a shorter video on this, but we're going to go a little deeper today, a deeper dive.
We think you're ready for it now, for the real stuff.
We hope you've been practicing, and we hope that you are learning your empathy. What have we been talking about?
Statement. You know?
Your power of empathetic statements.
So I can say, when I don't know what to say, I can go, oh.
So we learned last time to be calm. Use your empathetic statements. Show a lot of empathy. And what we're talking about now is really turning your words into power with the kid.
Or into gold. I remember
Into
that
gold.
one.
Is that
Yes,
how they
turn
say
your
it?
words into gold.
And just as a reminder, Bill Richardson, Bonetta Baki, we work with Koinonia Family Services. Our office is actually here in a studio. Ironically enough, our office, we kind of just took our old music studio. For some reason, we happen to own a music studio for our teenagers to learn a new skill, but it didn't really take off, so we are actually doing our podcast instead, our vlogcast.
We're learning our new skill.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it is? When you think you're going to help a kiddo, or kiddos, you build this huge, beautiful studio, and it goes awry, and who's learning?
Yeah,
The
we learned the
adults.
lessons, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what's funny? Our founder, Miriam Golden, she really had a vision for 10, 20 years in the future. She envisioned, building a music studio 25 years ago, I think is when we
Crazy.
built this. And lots of kids have learned skills in here. And now we're learning skills, and we're able to use this perfectly soundproof studio to do some podcasts, some vlogs, which, she was ahead of her time.
It was crazy. And even in her parenting skill, she could have wrote Love and Logic, hands
She could have.
down.
And throughout the series, we will reference some of Miriam's sayings as well as the Love and Logic sayings. Anything we can come up with to help you learn. So today, the theme is, the first theme is powerful, the power of enforceable statements.
Right. It's like you can't tell a child they're going to be grounded forever, because absolutely I don't want a kid stuck with me forever. I'd be grounded forever. So they're not going to listen to that unless and you can't even say weeks unless you've already shown that, mean what you say what you mean.
Can you make it happen? And the worst time to threaten a kid or to give a consequence to a kid is in the moment, in the heated moment of the argument.
When you want to, when you're tempted to.
Yeah.
Because you're going to end up going back and renegotiating that consequence.
Yeah, you're never going to have ice cream again in your life. Well, that's not enforceable.
At all.
Right? And so what we're going to start to do is pause, take a minute, right? And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to session number 2. Pause, really go brain dead, if you will, and try not to react to the kid and come back later with a consequence, right? And so the second part of session 3 is actually creating a strategic plan, if you will. And how can you create and plug all the holes so you can teach the kid a lesson later, not necessarily in the moment.
Right.
Yeah, so it's really about pausing.
I think I remember one of the videos that goes along with this series is where a parent couldn't get the child up to go to school. And so she needed to go to work. So she had the neighbor come, and it was the cranky neighbor, not a fun neighbor, who came to wait for the child to wake up and then take him to school. And then the child had to pay for the sitter. And so their allowance money went towards being cared for because they couldn't get out of bed.
Right, right. So there was no fight. There was a well thought out plan to let the child learn from their choices.
Right. And the child knew the plan, agreed to the plan, probably didn't think the parent would follow through with the plan. I mean,
well, yeah. And that's the thing, you know, I hope this isn't you, but a lot of families, a lot of parenting, you know, our words are not met with a lot of respect and or belief.
right.
Our kids don't always believe us because our follow through isn't often that great.
Well, it's not easy. It's
Right.
not it's not what, you don't want to be stuck home even for being grounded 2 days. I didn't like being with my children for 2 days when they were angry.
Right. Because we suffer too. Right.
Absolutely.
You know, being a parent doesn't mean that it's like the kid. Love and logic isn't about just letting the kids suffer alone. Love and logic is allowing the child to suffer their consequences of their decisions. But that also means that you're there with them. You are in there with them suffering those consequences because, you know, back in my group home days, the kids would have what was called a U-turn program. And everybody had to suffer. So like, let's say all the staff and the kids are at a movie or at dinner
No.
and one kid acts out.
Oh.
And the lead staff would say, U-turn program.
Oh.
You could try this. I don't know how it will work in the family unit,
Oh.
but U-turn program. And it's like everybody literally got up, you pay whatever it is or what, and you get in the van, group home van, and
Those
you
white
drive back to the house. And then you would go on to what's called house shutdown. So everybody had to go to their bed and then they had to have a team meeting. It was very structured and you know, kind of extreme. But the point is it was planned out. It was immediate, but the adults had to suffer too.
Right.
Because the poor staff who don't get paid all that much, still don't, because I'm talking about 20 years ago. And, you know, they might have got some
free
popcorn in
yeah.
the movie sitting with the kids they work with. And that's one of the perks of working in residential care. And now they don't get to finish the movie. They don't get to finish dinner.
Oh.
Everybody's got to go back
Oh.
and go to the house. But how long do you think it takes for the kids to learn that if they screw up in public, they don't get to be in public? And it actually doesn't take long to learn that lesson, but the adults do suffer.
But that's the way we're investing in children. It's the investment.
Yeah.
You know, it's delayed gratification,
Yeah.
which Americans are not too well practiced.
Yeah, and that's one of Koinonia's themes is that we are about parenting kids in such a way where I want to say this, I want to pause to say this because this is a huge one for us and spent all morning talking to one of our therapists here about we don't fix kids. Now for those of you in the industry, you're like, wait a second, we have therapy and we have all these things. I mean, you know, and those are healing practices. And we're going to talk about trauma-informed in this podcast series. We're going to talk about these things. But healing takes time. And we don't always have placement of a child long enough to see the healing,
Right.
right? And so sometimes we're planting seeds that we may never see bloom.
Ever.
And so a lot of times we are working with families to be empathetic and safe and loving in the midst of their worst behaviors, because the kids are going to have their behaviors. And so a lot of times parents, they call us and they say, fix this kid, and I can't adopt this kid, or I can't foster this kid. You got to fix this kid. And it's like, whoa. We don't, it's like the first thing we say in our parenting classes now is like, we don't fix kids. We create loving, safe, structured, but loving environments for them to start the healing process.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this, oddly enough, is in alignment with Love and Logic, because Love and Logic is not about fixing or controlling a kid's. It's really more about guiding and walking alongside them and almost showing them to the natural consequences of the world. And so, go ahead.
Oh, he saw me take that breath.
Big breath. Something wise is about to pop.
Or foolish. I was just thinking, in school, we're teaching our kids to be critical thinkers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thinking outside the box, thinking of the variables. Well, that's what we're doing as parents. We want our children to think cause and effect.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to take pause, like you were saying. If I do this, this is what's going to happen next. If I do this, this other thing's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have some bluffers, like I was when I was a kid. I can remember my brothers, I'm going to tell on you. And I would just look at them deadpan and say, okay, but it was worth it. And so did they ever tell? No, because I didn't care.
Yeah.
So I think even as a parent, we have to, not that we don't care, but we have to give the stance of, I can go home during the movie.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Gotcha.
I can stand.
Well, the Love and Logic one, it just occurred to me. Remember the pizza story?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not sure if it's Charles or Jim, but they tell the story of the dad who he creates a strategic planning session, meaning he knew his kids would act out if he went somewhere. So he went somewhere he didn't care about staying. And I don't know if I should.
That is awesome.
I won't say the name because I don't want to get sued.
Right.
It is a particular dining facility that has lots of games and pizza and dressed up characters. Okay, so I'll leave it at that. I think this
children
company,
love to go there.
oh, they love it, but the
Love
parents,
it.
we hate it. Oh, we hate that place.
And the pizza's not all that great.
No, it's horrible. The whole thing is horrible. I'm still traumatized by the years that I took my kids to this place.
To the birthday parties that you had to
Yeah.
go there.
And now there's like this particular joint on steroids, and we actually take our foster kids to this other place. And it's like, then there's like an all-you-can-eat buffet connected with rides. So you got caffeine, and they're just overstimulated. Probably not the best thing
Lights
for foster kids.
flashing and
Going nuts, but the parents like it because there's a bar there, and so they're able to survive the evening.
not that we
don't encourage-
yes.
We don't encourage drinking and driving or drinking and parenting, although
No.
I know some of you might do that.
Participate.
The whole parenting and drinking thing, because let's face it, we're filming this during COVID, and
we all want to drink.
people are home. They're drinking at like 10 a.m. They're parenting their kid. Their Zoom calls. They're walking around naked. So people are gonna remember back on 2020. This is a crazy Zoom filled. Unfortunately, alcohol sales are up. It's a bad time, but actually, that's a lot of what we're trying to accomplish. Is if I can help you alleviate some of your stress
Right.
as a parent, and you're not arguing with your kids, and you're using these enforceable statements or strategic sessions, then maybe you won't be as stressed, and then hopefully you'll drink less. So I'm actually for you drinking less or smoking less or whatever it is you're doing. Marijuana is legal in California at this time. Do that less too. Do it all very, very much less. Okay.
Our our 12 step program is
Go to a 12-step program if you're suffering.
do Love and Logic.
We're not going to get into addictions that greatly here. So
That's not our job.
We'll take a break. Dave can edit this out later if he so chooses.
I would hope so.
And so, but what I'm saying is how do we de-stress your life? And now we're not saying it's going to be super easy. Dave's signaling.
You were telling the pizza story.
Oh, the pizza story. Okay, so the dad.
We went down our
Yeah,
own
sorry.
rabbit hole.
So we're back to Love and Logic. The pizza story. This is a podcast, right?
Yeah, we can edit it. No
Vlogcast.
problem. No
And so,
problem.
well, not even that, but
It's our blooper outtake.
we're supposed to have fun and just talk, right? And so so the dad takes him to this pizza place, and in this pizza place, of course, as normal, his kids completely disobey and break the rules, and they're running around yelling and
I
being
wouldn't
mean
know
to each
why.
other.
I mean, sensory overload. I
Yeah.
don't know why. That's a good
So
setup.
so he actually pulled his own. Yeah, there's another concept to talk about there, overstimulating your kids. But the dad says, oh, he didn't call it U-turn program. He said, we're all going home. Leaves the pizza there, and the kids are like freaking out because And the thing is, if you've never followed through on your word with your kids before and they don't believe you, then this is worse, right? Because when you finally do follow through, they're going to be so shocked and so freaked out, they're not going to know how to handle it.
And they're at their favorite place.
Right. And so in this particular story, the kid's kicking and screaming to go back to the car, and he goes home. He leaves the pizza. Now, this cost him probably $50, but wow, what an investment to teach them that Dad is serious. Dad didn't yell. Right? He didn't get angry. In fact, he was happy to go. Win.
Well, and I'm imagining, I don't think they told this, but Mama's on board too. So both of you have to be on board.
Yeah.
Both parents, mom, dad, or mom and dad. Everybody has to be on the same page that this is what's going to happen. And, if it was me, I know Love and Logic doesn't do reminders. I know I would say, now remember, this is my expectations of behavior. If we can't do those expectations that we agreed to, then we're going to leave.
Yeah.
Because the child, children know where our weak points are. And so if I'm the weaker parent,
yeah.
they're going to, look, but Dad's being so mean, Mom. He said we got to leave, and look, we haven't even ate. I can imagine what she or he endured.
Yeah.
But they stayed steady.
Well, and let's talk about parents, divorce parents. There are situations where we have two parenting sets. Often parents remarry, and so the child has two homes and two different structures. So we often encourage our parents to actually go to Love and Logic or use Love and Logic or whatever parenting style. Choose one that you both use, so that's not about you're right and I'm wrong and this parent's right or wrong. It's more about, hey, we're going to agree on this particular way of parenting. And from here, the kid doesn't have any loopholes, which is a big part of the kid's learning is consistency with the adult.
And even if you can get your teacher on board, there's Love and Logic for teachers.
And if you're single, you can embrace whether it's your grandparents are helping or neighbor, whoever your support system.
Right.
Take them. We've had people come to our Love and Logic classes they bring their nannies, they bring their babysitters, they bring the adult children who watch the kids.
And it ends up being a better fit for the child. And that's what it's all about. When you bring a child into the world, you want the best for him or her.
Consistency
Absolutely.
Across the board. And so the enforceable statements, okay, the first part of this is, like the dad might have used an enforceable statement like, if we go to pizza and you guys act out, we'll have to come home. Now that's kind of a warning, but it really is, it's setting an example of this is what's going to happen. And if you're working with kids that struggle with anxiety and depression and change is really hard for them, well, you might want to offer a few reminders. And then when you do have to say it's time to go, you're going to say, oh, bummer, you made a bad choice. We're going to have to leave now, but you're calm. And there was that reminder in advance that something unfortunate will happen if you choose such and such behavior.
Right.
And so again, we're turning the problem back over to the child that this is about them and their behavior and their choices. It's not about mom and dad
being mean
or dad and dad or mom, whatever your situation is, or mom and grandma. I mean, we have it all. And so you want to be really careful to have a unified front. And but my point is you have to understand the child, because each child is so different. And that's why no one parenting class will work for every kid.
No.
Right? You have to take the principles of these classes and mold them to your child. For some children, 1, 2, 3 magic was a popular one. That might work for some kids. Didn't work for my kids, but it might work for your kids. Nurtured Heart, another great program. I think we're going to maybe do some segments on that. And that particular program it talks more about building up self-esteem, which is super important with our kids. Not spoiling. There's a difference. Maybe that's a whole segment. Don't spoil, but build up their self-esteem.
Right.
And so the main quote here, the first main page for this section, every time we tell a stubborn person what to do, they don't comply. We find ourselves at a loss for what to do. and then they learn that our words are meaningless, right?
Right.
So we're telling them something outrageous to do, or we're telling them to do something that we don't have control over. So an example would be, go to bed.
I'm not going to bed.
Yeah. Can you make somebody fall asleep?
And I'm not falling asleep.
Maybe with drugs. I mean, right.
Here's a little Benadryl.
Yeah. Maybe that'll help. Don't do that. Smack them around, beat them up a little bit, duct tape them. They might fall asleep. No, you can't. You can't force someone to, I guess you could force them to close their eyes, but you can't force them to fall asleep.
No.
Okay. What can you control in that scenario?
Staying in bed.
Staying in your bed. Yeah. Hey, you get to control when you go to sleep. I hope you get some sleep because we're waking you up at 6 a.m. either way, but all I need you to do is be in your bed. So.
Or even in the bedroom, because
Yeah.
I'm not,
Well, and then do you want to force the light being off? Depends on the kid, right?
Yeah, probably.
You might say light off or night light. So there's two options.
Right.
Right.
Read a book for a half hour,
Read
or
a book, some music.
right,
Yeah.
or fall asleep with music or with stories.
Yeah, if you sit down and think of it, there's so many choices to give at any given time. If you
Right.
just pause long enough to let your brain come up with something.
And that's another good point, the hypervigilance of parenting.
Mm-hmm.
If you're feeling yourself hypervigilant, that means you need to just
Yeah, you need to stop.
Yeah.
You need to slow down, low, get real slow, take a pause, calm yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've got myself like, my wife will come in and be like, okay, tag team, you're out, I'm in.
Oh, we've
'Cause
done
I'm-
that.
Yeah, because we have two kids, and one knows my buttons, and the other one knows my wife's buttons, and so we try to like tag team it in such a way where it's like we're watching each other, and if one's getting too emotional or overheated, the other one comes in and says, "Tag, you're out, I'm
Right,
in."
right, and that's fine. And then kids get to see mom and dad are the unit.
Mhm.
They are
Well, and is it okay for your kids to see that you struggle?
absolutely.
Is it okay for your kids to be apologized to?
Oh, mine have been apologized to
Yeah,
many
you guys.
times.
Yeah, I was a social worker for Dave and Bonetta for many years, and so I witnessed you guys, and that was something I always remembered about you. Is you're like, I would go right back to the kid, and you would apologize, and I know Dave was good
Absolutely.
at that too. Neither of you were so prideful that you couldn't own your
No.
stuff, and isn't that some of the parents that really struggle in the industry of parenting, because we're in the industry of parenting, that
Professional.
yeah, professional foster parents, that they just are too proud to say, "Oh man, mom and dad messed up."
I blew it. I overreacted. Man. It relieves a child too. They don't have to carry the weight of being, because they know they were right,
Mhm.
or they know that I behaved incorrectly, and
Mm-hmm. But
we're all wrong.
Yeah, but doesn't it take time though? You probably didn't do that when you had your first child.
I can't remember that many years ago.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, it took me a lot of years to learn how to be a little more humble
Absolutely.
with my
yeah.
kids. But I can tell you this: when I was younger, my parents took Love and Logic, and they were foster parents back in the day. I think around the time you
They
guys
were.
started. And I'll never forget one time that my mom actually, credit to mom, came to me and apologized for how she responded to my behavior. I was wrong, but
Right.
she came back and apologized to me. And I'm like, it blew me away. I was
How
like,
confusing is that?
it's like my mom apologizes to me. Now, there was enough times in life where they didn't apologize, so it wasn't happening every day, so I didn't get a big head about it.
Yeah, I didn't.
But
either.
but it can shock, especially imagine if you're a kid, a foster kid, a traumatized youth who's in a stranger's home, and that stranger comes and says, "Hey, I'm sorry," or "How do you feel?" or "What would you like to eat?" Like, what would it be like for somebody that's been placed out of home,
Oh,
who has a little bit of control in their surroundings, and people treat them with dignity and respect to the point where they'll apologize when they make a mistake. Now, hopefully they don't say, "That's a client's rights violation, I'm reporting you to the state." I mean, hopefully it's not one of those. But wow, how powerful is that apology?
well, and it's modeling what you want.
Grandma used to say, "More is caught than taught." They're going to catch on to what you're doing, not
no
always what you're
matter
saying.
No matter what.
Yeah. So if you're modeling the behaviors that you want to see, So if you're modeling drinking beer and partying till 2 a.m., and then you expect your kids to not drink beer and party till 2 a.m., well, good luck with that.
Let us know how that worked
Let
out
us
for
know.
you.
Comment below if we're on the YouTube.
Drop a 1 if.
If maybe you've made a mistake in front of your kids. But, you know, we all do that, and that's okay.
And you can't make a capital 1, but mine would be a capital 1.
But
Drop a 1 if you
but-
made a mistake.
But realize your kids are watching.
They
really,
are, all the
Oh my
time.
gosh, they're watching every move, and how powerful, even the nonverbal communication, how powerful. I mean, because anxiety is contagious, fear is contagious, joy is contagious, laughter is contagious. And none of those things really are words
No,
or actions. They're actions, so to speak, but they're feelings, and it's
well, it's just like me taking that big breath to say something.
mhm.
Go ahead. See, you already knew. It's,
Well,
it's
We've worked together long enough. I can sense it.
but a child
There's a
would know.
Bonetta force that comes
But a
across.
child would know. A child knows
Oh,
when
dude.
dad or mom comes
Sure.
home from work and it's been a crummy day.
Yeah.
They know. It's just like us as parents. If and ever we go back to school,
Mhm.
kids, and a child hits that front door,
Mhm.
you can sometimes almost feel the energy. Like,
Oh, yeah.
this was not good.
Well, I'm sure Dave can attest to that. You know, sometimes he come home from work back in the day, and Bonetta's been dealing with
He
the
had to
kids
time me
and the
out.
foster kids and all the energies and behaviors, and then like the parent who might have been gone for multiple hours that day. My wife and I kind of trade off who works more in our life. But I used to work at one point. I'd work long days. I'd come home, and she was primarily home with the kids. I could just sense it. I walk into that house. They're not even in the room.
Right.
And here's a trick. Here's a little nugget. Okay. You go in and turn off all the radios, all the TVs, all the lights, anything electronic. It'll save you money, but it'll calm your house down. And they won't even know what you're doing.
It's crazy, that story you
It
tell.
totally works. I don't know if my kids ever realized what I was doing, but man, did they calm down.
Yeah, you just change the atmosphere.
Mhm.
We put a candle on the table.
Hmm.
We had a couple of kids that
So that's interesting. Smells. I've
Oh,
heard a
yeah.
lot about like soup is soothing. Like if you
Oh,
walk in the door
fall.
and the crock pot's been going all day, for most, I would imagine, it's soothing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, okay, so let's say you're fostering or you're watching someone else's kid, and you want them to be calm and they want them to be, you know, so the foods that you make may not be the foods they're used to. So you can
Yeah.
find out what kind of foods did you like, and then when you cook those, there's an emotional connection to taste and smell, and that actually could calm and comfort a kid. In fact, we had one of the kids in the group home who, if you gave him hot Cheetos,
Oh.
they calmed down.
Oh.
Now, most people would get them riled up, right?
Oh.
Know your kid. Research your kid. Be an investigator about your kid. What is their need? I mean, a lot of this boils down to safety and need. Are they afraid, or is there an unmet need?
You know, I was just thinking about that as you were talking. Sometimes we don't realize anniversaries. So, like if grandma passed away
Of
in the
death.
fall.
Yeah, or the day they got removed from their home.
Mm-hmm. But just I was really thinking about the standard parenting, and parents might not realize that, oh no, you know, fall's coming, now the kid's acting out, they're
Mhm.
whiny or
Mhm.
they're needy or they're, you know, you fill in your blank. And it could be the anniversary, their body, like we talk about body keeps score, body memory.
Yeah.
They might not even realize, oh, I'm grieving
Mhm.
about grandma or
And, you know,
whatever.
Isn't it worth it to just take a minute and say, is something going on?
Right. Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you could just pause, because it's so easy to react. There's a story, and we'll go through the new Love and Logic series, hopefully, as well. A story about the kids peeing on the couch.
Yeah.
And it took everything in, and we'll talk about it more in the other series, but oh my gosh, took everything in this dad to not want to scream and freak out because these teen boys he was fostering peed on the couch.
But come on, wouldn't we
Oh,
all want to just kill the
I
kid?
Well, it depends on the couch, and luckily it was a basement couch, TV room.
However, a couch is a couch and you're using it. Don't pee on the couch.
Don't pee on my couch. But it took everything in him to stop, And this is a good example because we're going to finish about strategic training sessions. And he said, you know, I'm not going to himself, I'm not going to react. And he didn't. He says, you know what, boys, we're going to talk about this later.
Can you imagine their heart?
And so, and they did, and they went on to, and we'll talk about that in another class. But
You can't leave them hanging. What did he do?
well, he turned the problem back over to the kids,
Right.
and they fixed it. They didn't, and they did, this is the part I'll leave out. How they fixed it, he was like,
Stay tuned.
but they did fix it, and they were so proud of themselves.
Right. And
Right.
isn't that what we
But
want?
what did he not do? He didn't yell.
Oh,
He didn't lecture. He didn't get angry.
talk about
And
a
he
hero.
took a minute and he created a plan. And so I'm just going to give you the rules real quick.
Even about
So-
the dishes. That reminds me of the dish story.
This story. Go ahead.
And it's in 11 Logic, so I'm probably blowing it for some of our training, but it's okay. It's me. There was one foster daughter got angry, and she broke the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she had to pay for the dishes, and she was sweating it out. What am I going to... The parent told her, okay, now you're going to have to pay for the dishes.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the parent was probably a little bit more worried than the child. Like, how am I going to make this enforceable?
Mm-hmm.
So she got with, it goes along with our strategic planning. So she went to the neighbor and she said, because the neighbor was getting ready to have a yard sale. And she said, hey, do you have any dishes? Neighbor said she did, that she was going to sell. And so they made a plan for this girl. They were going to go to the yard sale.
Right.
This girl would see the dishes
Get a good deal.
and get a good deal, but she had to earn the deal.
Right.
She actually had to earn
Right.
it. Same thing,
But but yeah, there's an element of pride and accomplishment
Right.
when kids get to fix their own problems. And in this particular series, the story of Charles, whose son breaks a hole and punches a hole in
Right.
the sheetrock, and he was young, like 4 or something
He was
like that.
little.
But the dad was like, because the wife was like, well, what would Love and Logic do? And Charles was like,
Of
ah.
course.
And so he says, okay, let's turn the problem over to the kid. And the kid takes, masking tape and duct tape and tries to patch the hole. And the dad's like, I just don't know if that's good enough. And then he had to go to the store. And the dad says, well, how about you buy all the supplies and then I'll help you and do it the proper way. And they did it together. And it was this amazing bonding story of a father and son who took a problem and turned it into an amazing learning opportunity where they bonded.
And connection.
Yeah.
Right.
And so anyway, the first part we talked about was enforceable statements, and just to give you a couple more examples of those, kids that brush their teeth get to eat dessert. And so what you're doing is you're connecting the yeses with the behavior. And we talked about some of these in our other video. You can watch. It's a shorter one about sharing control and offering choices. But, you can have a cell phone as long as you're the one paying for the phone.
Right.
Right. So we're learning how to, you're not saying, no, you can't have a phone. You're saying, hey, if you want to do this, it's funny. I don't know if it's connected or not, but I used to, instead of saying no to my kids to go to the mall, because I would rather go to Target or Ross or Walmart or something else,
Me too. Oh.
I'd say, well, let me tell you this. Here's how much I'm going to spend. Here's how much I got for you this month or whatever in clothing. And because some of these kids, they just want to go to the mall and they want to spend all the expense, and that's all kids, right? This is America. And so, I say, well, guess what? I have $100 today for you to buy clothes. And if we go to Target or Ross, you're going to get 4 or 5, 6 items. But hey, let's go now. I don't think you understand. I don't like the mall.
I hate them all.
They have restaurants now, which is nice, but I don't like the mall. I don't like the whole idea walking around for hours and hours and occasionally buying.
Going back to the first place and
shoot
buying
me. Right.
First saw.
So what I would do is I say, here's the money.
Mm-hmm.
This is once they were teenagers and they want to go to the mall. And when they were older, they would just go on their own. But when they were younger, I'd have to go with them. I would not go into the store. I say, I'm going to sit right here in the middle of the mall and you're going to go do all the shopping and I'm going to have me a taco or something and whatever. I don't know, the panda. I don't know.
Reading a book, whatever.
Yeah.
Listening.
And they would, so eventually they come back and say, okay, we and they're always depressed because they're like, I couldn't find anything. And I'm like, yeah, because we're at the mall, right? They're like, $100 doesn't go very far. And this is years ago. Like, this isn't even 2020. This would be early 2000s or mid 2010, 2015. I don't know. I'm bad with time. It was a while ago, so things are more expensive now. And they would go in and they would put it and they'd say, hold this for me. And I would go in and I would pay for it. And they'd always go out going, gosh, I just didn't get as much as I was hoping to get. And I'm like, well, we could go down to Ross and I could maybe show you how to get a few more items. Now, I knew that they needed more clothing items, but I'm allowing them to learn.
Right. And how would they know without that?
Right. And I say, but hey, you got your own money. I always owe my kids money. This is something parents don't do enough. I always owe my kids money because like we go to the store and this is how I would do my enforceable statements. And they would say, oh, we want this candy. And I'd say, I don't have a lot of money today, but I owe you like $20. So we could use some of that.
Oh,
well, I don't want it.
Not delicious.
I don't want to use my money on it. And I said, nah, me either. And
That's
then
a great one.
right. And so I always turn the problem, if I could, back over to the kids. So it was a yes, but I had a contingency.
Yes, that was going to cost them.
So we kind of started talking about what the next part of this section, 3 starts on page 29 if you happen to have the book. And it's step 1, put together a plan, right? So this is where there's a problem, like they peed on the couch, right? I guess we'll go ahead and use that. And then stay calm, don't react. I'll take care of it. No worries, we'll take care of it later, which actually is great because the kids stress. They're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Let them sweat it. Let them sweat it. Why should you be the one sweating?
They deserve the sweating.
No problem. We'll talk about this later, right? And then so put together a plan. Ensure that you have support from other adults involved. So I'm sure the dad had to talk to the wife and, kind of consider if maybe there's an issue around teachers or maybe it's a church issue at the nursery or daycare or school, whatever it is. You want to talk to all the adults involved to make sure they're because what if you send a kid to school in their pajamas to teach them a lesson and then the teachers call CPS? No, you want to engage the teachers and make sure they're a part of it.
Absolutely.
And then the step 3, set an enforceable limit. Okay, so, you guys are going to have to fix the couch now. Good luck, And then step number 4 is don't nag or remind. So you don't actually want to remind them. And I got a great story for this. And then number 5, when problems arise, allow empathy. We're right back to where we've been. Empathy and consequences do the teaching, not lectures, not threats. Okay. And so I have a cousin who tried this out on her kid because he wouldn't wake up every morning. And because he wouldn't wake up on time, it kept everybody in the house late every morning. And it was driving him crazy. His alarm would go off. He wouldn't, he just wouldn't do anything. And so she called me and we worked out a plan. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. I was so excited because I didn't even, you just got to hear it. So usually somebody would have to wait around, whether it was his older sister or mom or dad, and they would have to take him to school, usually late, and it's all that stuff. Yeah. And so what I said, don't wake him up. I said, just let him, just see what happens. Just don't wake him up, let him go to school late and all this kind of stuff. Because he actually cared about school. So going late was a bad thing for him. It was just a pain for the parents. So the parents were enduring the pain. It was their problem every day. I said, no, give it back to the kid. Give the problem. And so you guys just go to work.
You were the grumpy neighbor.
No, I didn't jump in. He was close enough to ride his bike, right? Oh. And so that was the backup plan. And so when he woke up and his sister was gone and mom was gone, he said, well, how come nobody woke me up? And the dad was still there. He worked from home that day. And he says, oh man, we just didn't want to bother you. And he's like, but I'm late for school. Dad, could you take me to school? He's like, oh, bummer, dude. I got to work from home. I just cannot leave. But you're welcome to jump on your bike and get there. And this poor kid's frantic, and he probably couldn't get his money for his lunch or make his lunch and all these things. And he grabs his bag, and he jumps on his bike. He starts down the road, flat tire. I don't think the parents did that part. I hope to God they didn't do that.
But if they did,
that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
And so this poor kid, it's too late to turn around. So he's walking a flat tire bike to school, sweaty, late, in trouble, no one there to sign him in. I'm sure they had to call the parents or whatnot. And oh my gosh, was he awake the next day on time?
Sitting on the couch waiting.
The answer is yes, it worked. It took one opportunity. Now they could have went another 2 years every morning nagging that child.
Or his whole school career.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so what are some of these lessons kids can learn? What can you set up? I mentioned the pajamas, going to school in your pajamas.
being late on an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Okay.
not our problem.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a hard one. And we're going to talk about education, I think, in the last section. But
yes.
education is a big one. I can't let my kid fail. Can you?
I had to learn. I can hear the helicopter blades
Right?
going.
Is school your problem or is school the kid's problem?
I think school tries to make it your problem as well as a
Mhm,
child.
mhm.
So you not only are you telling the child that it's their problem, sometimes you have to remind the teacher that it's the child's problem.
Yeah. I'm not saying ignore your kids in education. What I'm
no.
saying is don't save the day. Support them in a way that empowers them to learn and make good choices. Don't rush in and save the day, because then you'll be saving the day every day.
Oh,
Whether it's I forgot my lunch, or a lot of times even with sports, the parents are like, oh no, the kid can't fail in sports, and they go, okay, I might be talking to some of you parents.
uh-oh.
My kid needs to have more minutes playing time in the sport. Oh my gosh, the energy around parents and your kid may not be the next Tiger Woods. And that's okay.
And I don't want him to be.
Well, let's not get into that. But they might not be the next big professional. But oh my gosh, the energy around parents and their
And more than likely.
the equipment and because what's amazing is these kids, they go from being in high school and college, and I saw a cartoon today, and the parent, or no, it was actually the boss, right? The boss hands this new employee a broom, and he says, hey, I need you to sweep up. And he goes, oh, no one told you, I have a degree. And the boss grabs the broom and says, oh, you're right, I should probably show you. And so the boss has to show him how to sweep a floor.
Which is probably true.
because there is an issue in our society where kids are like, because you think about it, these kids are treated golden. It's like they get the most expensive gear and special lessons, and
the
then
best of the best.
and the percentages, you got a better shot at getting COVID than becoming too soon.
The better shot of getting hit by lightning.
Than becoming a professional athlete. Okay. And so anyway, that's maybe for, I think we just need to do one on spoiling kids. But the thing is don't raise your kids up to be entitled, because then they're not going to know how to really get in and serve. And I truly believe that people, if you're not serving others in your life and helping others, which I got to give credit to the younger kids and the younger generations, they're very much driven. You young kids are very much driven on passion and purpose. Way more than some of the older generations, and that's amazing.
I don't even think I heard that terminology as a child. Find your passion, find your purpose.
Right.
Everyone's born with purpose. Everyone's born with a passion. And I agree with you. I love that we're honing in on what was I made for and what was I made to give back.
Yeah.